Feast of Holy Innocents. This day marks the massacre of Bethlehem's children by Herod. The account of the wise men who traveled to find the King of the Jews inflamed Herod's jealousy. In response, he sent his soldiers to kill all of Bethlehem's boys 2 years old and younger in order to protect his throne and lineage in the first century. Now fast forward to the 21st century. Mr. Michael Porter observed and was disturbed by a pervasive, unstated posture and practice in the Georgia school system perpetuated against African American boys. The posture and practice of which I speak is, and I quote, "Kill them before they grow." That line became the title of Michael Porter's book, with the subtitle being "Misdiagnosis of African American Boys in American Classrooms." God, I believe, has used Michael Porter's research to give focus to this sermonic endeavor on this commemoration as we remember the slaughter of the innocents. Therefore, I preach on this occasion making use of the title of Michael Porter's book. So pray for me, if you will, as we ponder the subject, "Kill them before they grow." Why such a strong title? For a sermon, this is very strong language, "kill them before they grow." Why such a strong title? Well, I believe the answer is simple. Because African American boys and their potential for future productivity are at stake. The title is strong because the potential progression and productivity of African American boys hangs in the balance. Several questions may come to the forefront of your mind in light of what I've shared so forth. For instance, somebody might ask, well, who is being killed? African American and Latino and folk of color are being killed. Well, who is perpetuating these atrocities? Well, ultimately, I believe the enemy, Satan, is responsible for the initiation and perpetuation of such a diabolical scheme. But penultimately, however, it seems that for many years, those in power, the mostly white male power brokers, have set up an evil and racist system that is sown into the very fiber and fabric of both this nation's history and its present condition. Does that mean that all white folks, all males are prejudiced? No, that does not mean that all white males are responsible for this evil system that pervades our land. I'm not saying that. No racial group has a monopoly on evil, for there are just as many evil white folks, and there are evil Hispanic folks, there are evil black folks, there are evil Asian folks. But however, when it comes to this peculiar topic of white males, I believe there is a difference. Anyone who has ever lived in America and has studied American history knows that white males hold the greatest power in this country. And they have used this power in questionable ways. Just think about slavery and the continuing discrimination in this great country referred to as the land of opportunity. So who's being killed? Black and Latino boys, boys of color. Who is killing them? The evil one through a racist system. And I think the next question that this begs is, where is the killing of our youngest black males occurring? Beloved, it is happening everywhere, namely in the American educational, judicial, social, political, and economic systems. It happens as our young sons, brothers, nephews, and grandsons enter schools. For it is in school that they come to believe that they cannot achieve. Our young black boys are told that they talk too much, that they are too active, that they ask too many questions. Too many of them are being placed in special education programs or given drugs under the guise of trying to keep them focused and on task. By the time many of our black boys leave elementary school, they have dropped out mentally and have lost their sense of pride and purpose. There is significant revenue in such a posture and practice of killing boys before they grow. You might wonder how a person can make any sort of profit from someone who ceases to be alive. Well, what you must understand, beloved, is that there is more than one way to kill somebody. You can do it with weapons. You can do it with words. You can do it through war. You can do it through instilling worthlessness. You can do it through non-living wages and underemployment. There are all kinds of ways that you can achieve the same end. The most expedient way to kill someone without a bullet or knife or physical weapon is to take away that person's spirit. Take away that person's identity and vision and dreams and purpose. Murders such as these take place using psychological weapons, another form of weapons of mass destruction. Yes, we have been rightfully concerned in the past about weapons of mass destruction in other countries and their potential to destroy America, but what about the psychological weapons that are manufactured in America and are being used to destroy the young black boys who are in their prime? Stereotypes and discrimination and racism and prejudice and low expectations devastate black males everywhere, perhaps even more than guns and more than drugs. Y'all quiet this morning. Most of you who know me know that I love horror movies. And in horror movies, sometimes the subject is zombies. I'm sure that you've heard of a zombie. A zombie is the walking dead. A zombie is someone who is lost mentally and emotionally. But zombies are valuable to some people. Zombies are worth something to the person or people who have placed them in the zombie-like state. Zombies can't think for themselves. They can't act for themselves. They are easily manipulated and controlled by the person who has made them a zombie. But what does this mean for our young black males? How is the destructive practice carried out? It's carried out today in America in the same way that it occurred in ancient Palestine, where Jesus was born. Unless you think I've gone off on some tangent that has nothing to do with our scripture lessons for today, let me just make my way to our text from Matthew's Gospel. Because Jesus, in this second chapter of Matthew, had been born in Bethlehem. The Magi, the wise men as we call them, had gotten word about this baby being born. They went to Jerusalem, which is where King Herod happened to be. And when they went there, they went inquiring about the king who had been born. Now what you got to understand, beloved, is that Herod was the king. So when they went looking for a king, that was just born, that said to Herod that he better watch out because his throne was in jeopardy. So Herod told him, he said, listen here, brothers, I don't know where he is, but when you find him, why don't you just come on back through Jerusalem and let me know so I can go and see him and worship him also. Of course, Herod had no such thought in his mind. He wanted to find out in order that he might kill Jesus before he grew. When the Magi went and saw Jesus, on their way back, an angel appeared to them and told them, don't go back the same way. Don't go back to Herod. And let me pull over here and say for just a moment, somebody had an angel talk to you this week. There were some decisions that you had to make. And the angel told you, don't go that way. Go another way. You didn't understand, but as the song says, you'll understand it better by and by. Go another way, the angel said, because God is at work in order that the prophecy might be fulfilled. Out of Egypt I have called my son. It's written here. I'm not deviating. Remember, beloved, that this destruction is sometimes done subliminally or covertly. Our sons do not see many positive images of themselves, not only in the culture, but in textbooks and academic settings. Positive images are lacking. This is dangerous because our children spend 13 years in school for 180 days at least a year. How many hours do they spend learning about their black heritage? How many hours do they spend learning about black males who are successful? 13 years is a lot of time to educate or miseducate a child, as Carter G. Woodson lamented in his seminal book, The Miseducation of the Negro. 13 years is a long time to instill dreams or to steal dreams. 13 years is a long time to assist in someone's growth or to assist in someone's death. And we're all too familiar in this city and in this country, really, with drive-by shootings and the destruction these acts wreak. But what about drive-by education? In such cases, educators are just not given the proper support and resources to teach. They are unable to spend the time needed with their students because they are overworked. And what's more, some of them just don't care at all. For some, their black students are strangers to whom they have little allegiance, little commitment, or little sense of responsibility. When all is said and done, drive-by shooting and drive-by education are deadly in their own way. It goes without saying that it is time to change the history books, really all books, so that the American story reflects the African American story, the Native American story, the Hispanic American story, the Asian American story, the Jewish American story, the Polish American story, and so on. Our children are lost. Many have no sense of history. We still have young people in the 21st century who only see a snapshot of Egypt in the history books. And few of them know that Egypt is a part of Africa. I think, my beloved, that you will agree, if you don't know where you come from, then you don't know where you can go. If you have no identity, no self-image, then any image will suffice. Let me get back to the biblical text. In the biblical text, it says that when Herod learned he had outwitted by the Magi, he was furious. And with self-preservation in mind, he sent out the mandate to kill all of the Jewish boys under the age of 2. He said, take them all out. If they're 2 years old and younger, take them out. Why select children 2 years of age and younger? Well, because it was believed that Jesus at that time could not have been more than 2 years old. Therefore, Herod issued his decree, get the boys. It doesn't say anything about girls, but I can tell you that it affects the girls. If you have the boys, you have the seed. If you have the seed, you have the race and you have the people. We cannot reproduce without the seed that is found in our sons. If our black boys are killed before they grow, then ultimately the existence of a people ceases. Who benefits from the devastation, the destruction of the African American community? Who stands to gain from the loss of our black males? Think about it. Who stands to gain if racism persists? Who stands to lose if racism ends? We therefore, beloved, must talk to our sons, our brothers, grandsons, and nephews. We must give our children their identity. We know what our children must have in order for them to reach their God-given potential. They need a strong black identity, and they need it early. They need an identity that says, I am smart. An identity that says, I am kind. I am a good person. I am a good human being. I'm a good son. I am made in God's image, and I have a godly purpose. I am a child of God. They need an identity that will counteract the negative images portrayed of black males in books and in the media, and on the news and in newspapers and on TV shows, even in the 21st century. They need an identity that will help them to understand that black males have as much potential as anybody else. Our black boys need to know that reading is their God-given right. Our black boys need to know that being smart is their God-given right. Our black boys need to know that being a gentleman is their God-given right. Our African-American males need to know that material possessions are superficial and that hard work will be rewarded, that no one can destroy their identity without their consent. But there's more. I considered this week. Let's look at the controversial issue of Jesus' skin tone as a case in point. I might get in trouble today, but I don't care. I have shared with many of you before, and I know I've shared with my Bible study group, that growing up in Mississippi, I thought Jesus and God were white folks. There was no way that the divine looks like me. And there are still some churches today that have pictures of a white Jesus. And that's okay, because really, Jesus can be whatever color. But on the other hand, it is something that we need to consider. Why? Because it says that the color of our Savior matches the color of our former oppressor. So think about it. If you were going to worship Jesus looking like that, then you're still worshiping the oppressor. What this does subliminally is to instill a slave-like mentality. And when the mind is in shackles, you are not free to think for yourself. Therefore, our children don't grow up seeing a picture of a Savior that looks like them. Our young black boys need to know that God is not prejudiced. Beloved, I serve an unprejudiced Savior. I'm glad that God is not a racist. Jesus is my emancipator. Jesus is my liberator. Jesus is my rock and my sword and my shield. Oh, aren't you glad? Although Herod tried to kill him early, God said not so. And you can be assured that although the devil has tried to kill you early, God has said, come on here to 2020. You've made it another year. Not so, not right now. Although we live in a society that profits from the psychological killing of our young men at an early age, oh, we serve a God who will help our boys through all of the toils and snares that they may face. We serve a God who will never leave them nor forsake them. We serve a God who is still calling his sons out of modern Egypt. We serve a God who still produces wise men. We serve a God who still defeats the Herods of our day. We serve a God who still takes ownership of our lives. We serve a God who still echoes from the heavens above and says, that's my child, and I'm going to protect him. The angels keep watching over me. And I'm so glad that Abraham Lincoln is not responsible for my freedom. I'm so glad that the United States government is not responsible for my freedom. My Savior's name is not Lincoln, but it's Lord. My emancipator's name is not Abraham, but it's Adonai, my Lord and my Master. It's El Elyon, my Most High God. It's El Roy, the God who saves. It's El Shaddai, God Almighty. The name of God is Jehovah Ezer, the Lord our helper. The name of God is Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. The name of God is Jehovah Rapha, the Lord the healer. My emancipator, oh, his name is Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. Wonderful Counselor, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. And it's through Jesus, beloved, that we will find our ultimate freedom. It is through Jesus that we will fulfill our dreams. It is through Jesus that we will reach our potential. It is through Jesus that we will save our young sons and grandsons and brothers and nephews. It is through Jesus that we will grow our young African-American boys into strong African-American men. It is through Jesus